Yo, yo, yo. How's everyone doing? Happy Thursday, as always. Welcome back to another episode of the Miami Call-In Show Live. I'm your host, Jaden Gonzalez. Again, happy Thursday. As the number 13 Miami Hurricanes get ready for a pivotal matchup against rival Virginia Tech on Saturday. We're looking good. Things are looking more positive than I have felt in a while. I'll be honest. I feel probably as good as we can be. I feel good enough where I can, start thinking playoffs a little bit more here and there. But if you're a Miami fan, as you guys are, it's about focusing on getting the wins, going 1-0 every single week, controlling what you can control, and then letting the committee do the rest, letting everything else kind of shake out and play out on its own. And good things should happen. The hope for us right now, go 1-0 every week. 1-0 every week is the goal. 1-0 every week is always, it's always the goal, but especially for the rest of the season, when there are things that are starting to look like they might go in your favor, when things are starting to look like they're getting a little more positive on a daily basis, like Miami's got to take advantage of that. They really have to, finish the season strong, back-to-back games up north, have to dominate their opponents, Virginia Tech and Pitt, to close out the season. If they want that final at-large bid spot, if they want the committee to continue to respect them and to eventually, get put in that tier as Notre Dame is, and then, the hope is that they would then, get into that final spot. That's the goal every single week, 1-0, control what you can control. Don't let the outside noise become kind of rat poison for you as a team, and just focus on getting this thing on the win. Let the fans kind of have their own takes on the college football playoff committee, which there was a lot of on Tuesday hearing Hunter Yurachek, the new committee head, talk about everything. Wasn't a fan, obviously. No one should be, because I don't understand what good wins are or good losses are. I don't understand what quality losses are. I don't understand why that's the main concern, the main focus when we're looking at, quality wins have to matter and head-to-head has to matter. And it's a whole nother story, and it doesn't make any sense to us. But regardless, I'll talk for a little bit, try to get as many people as possible to get in here. And then as always, I'll post a StreamYard link. And I want to hear what you guys got to say, because we're getting to a point where, we have hope. There's definitely a lot more hope. I believe the odds of us making the at-large spots are about 35% now. So the chances are there. The odds of us getting in, they're increasing every single week, but we got to control what we can control. And I want to hear what you guys got to say about it. But I'll talk about, as always, a recap from last Saturday against NC State, where I thought Miami played their most complete football game you could probably have. They played their most complete four quarters. They have not done a complete good 4 quarters of football at all this season. They've never been able to do 4 complete quarters. It felt like this week they finally did. And if they can continue on that standpoint for the rest of the season, I think this team can easily, if they get into the playoffs, win a game, make some noise, do something. If things continue to go their way. Carson Beck played probably one of his best games as a Hurricane. Only 6 incomplete passes, 3 touchdowns, no picks. He's looking as healthy and as strong as ever. The run game, with Gerard Pringle kind of taking that step forward. I want him. I don't know I think Fletcher is probably going to play on Saturday against Vatech. I imagine CJ Daniels is going to play. I know Keontae Scott. If Fletcher does play, obviously Fletcher will be the lead guy, but I want to see Gerard Pringle really step into that RB2 role and play as good as he's been doing all season long, or really what happened last week and the week prior. He's gotten the opportunities and he's dominated. He has been so fun to watch. He's got that speed, that burst, that quickness that you've been looking for from a Miami running back. And I think a player like that can really flip. The run game hasn't been perfect this year. It's been really up and down, had some inconsistencies. When you pair Mark Fletcher and his dominance to go downhill and to be this big body guy that can do a lot with his toughness, his physicality, and his elusiveness, and then you pair that with a guy like Gerard Pringle, who can break a ton of tackles. He's shifty, he's elusive, he's tough to bring down. When you pair those two together, it's a great run game, and it opens it up for the passing game that has looked awesome. As Tony's looked great, the team, everyone in the league has looked great, and I have the whole team, the whole roster looks really good, and I'm very, very, very pleased with them. The system is rigged. It's no different than what happened. Yeah, I absolutely agree. It's that question with head to head. What with people saying that we should go back to BCS. If we went back to BCS, I imagine Notre Dame is probably still ahead of us because of whatever whatever the BCS has in their rankings that would put them above us. Things like strength of schedule or strength of record. And we're it's that for the BCS, but then for the committee just straight up doesn't like the ACC, and we have to admit that. Like they just don't. They don't. If they could, they wouldn't want any team in the ACC. They would have it be a full of just SEC, Big Ten, and they would one Big 12 and let it ride. They don't want to see the ACC in there at all. They're in a perfect world, if they wanted anyone, it would be us. But the system and the committee, the way that it's all set up, where you're having a group of athletic directors, former players, and guys with total biases that are, some of these guys, Hunter Yurachek is looking for a head coach right now. The Utah AD has now stepped in to take a spot, in the committee. What are we doing? Why is the Utah AD, the number 12 team in the country, the team that right above us, has his own voice and his own opinion, that he can make his own decisions, that if Utah gets in, Utah gets paid. He gets a pay raise on his own. So why wouldn't he want his own team to get in? Despite the fact that when you look at Utah's schedule, their best win is Arizona State without a quarterback. And then they have two good losses. I still don't understand what a good loss is, where they lost by $1 billion to Texas Tech, and they barely lost to Utah to BYU, even though BYU had control of that game the entire way up until the last few minutes of the game. It doesn't make sense. I don't understand the way that they handle it. I don't understand these tiers that they're talking about between Notre Dame, Alabama, and Miami, where they say they group it by teams of like 3. If you have 3 teams that are in there, it's like 1, 3, 4, 6, 7, 9, then like 10, 12. They believe that Miami's not in that same tier to be looked at as Notre Dame. But once Miami does, then Miami would get the edge over head to head. So in theory, Miami they need a couple good things to happen, a couple good, good bounces, whether it's probably a Utah loss or a BYU loss, something that can propel Miami up by 1 or 2 spots, because then the head-to-head kind of comes into play, and then Miami can jump them. That's the hope, at least from the standpoint or the way that Hunter Yurachek, the Arkansas AD, keeps talking about it. That's the way that I imagine it's going to be. It's more Catholic fans than there are Miami fans, where the media narrative caters to Notre Dame. Yeah, I've said this before, that it doesn't help that Notre Dame has the NBC contract, that they have a massive brand, we have a massive brand too, but Notre Dame is, they're the way that they're treated. They're their independent conference. They have all this. Exactly. Why are games being played? What's the point of scheduling Notre Dame week 1 of the season if week 1 doesn't mean anything at the end of the day? If Alabama's 10 because they had a bad loss to FSU, why is Notre Dame loss to Miami being a good loss? Their loss to Miami looks better for them than our win against them. That doesn't make sense. It shouldn't. Good losses don't make sense. Quality losses should not be ranked over quality wins. Notre Dame, I think Notre Dame is a playoff team. I'm going to say I do believe Notre Dame is a playoff team. I think they're really good. And I don't like that we have to pit Notre Dame with Miami against each other. But when it comes down to, if there's if there's 1 spot left and it's between Miami and Notre Dame, the head-to-head has to matter. The game on the field has to matter. If the game on the field doesn't matter, then why even schedule Notre Dame next year? Or I guess you got to schedule it in November for when the game actually matters. It doesn't make sense. I would love for someone to explain how any of that kind of logic or any of that reasoning makes any sense. I'm going to post StreamYard link in the chat. I want to hear what you guys got to say, especially about this, because I think it's ridiculous the way that the committee kind of handles it, because it feels inconsistent. It feels like every year every week they're basing, why one team's above another based on a different reason. Like they had A&M staying at 3 because they said that them coming back after being down 27 negated how bad they played in the first half. That doesn't really make sense. Miami even starting at 18 when the ranking started didn't make sense, and now they're all the way up to 13 because they hopped 2 idle teams. Like, the way that they've handled it all, I think it's every single year we're just questioning how the way that they handle any of these things. The fact that Bama, who has some incredible wins this season, is below Notre Dame, whose best win is USC, Navy, and Pitt, versus a Bama team that beat Georgia, that beat, that only lost to Oklahoma by 3, and obviously their FSU loss. But like Notre Dame lost their first 2 weeks of the season. So it's like, what are we doing here? It doesn't make sense. I could probably talk for hours about how the lack of sense that the committee has in it, but for Miami, I think if you kind of can just focus on winning. I genuinely believe that if Miami finishes the season winning out, and they win out in pretty dominant fashion over Virginia Tech and Pitt, I believe Miami should get the nod into the playoffs. I think things will work out. I think things will shake out in Miami's favor. If you want to look at it from getting help from teams, I think if BYU loses to Texas Tech in the Big 12 championship, that'll help. I think there's just a lot of ways. Look, I get it. I understand losing to 2 unranked teams. I understand that you did it to themselves. I have been saying that you have done it to yourself if you don't get in. Totally get that. But where Miami is right now at 13, and if Notre Dame is in and Miami is not, that doesn't make sense if the game was played on the field and it was a head-to-head matchup. And let's not act like SMU and Louisville are 2 horrific teams. They're not. One's a 3-loss team and one's a 2-loss team. And SMU they're both 3-loss teams. But SMU is looking like a team that might make the playoffs. If things roll their way, they might get into the ACC championship game. Louisville is a quality team. They're a very quality team. They're not as bad as the way the committee is acting as if Louisville and SMU are 2 of the worst teams in the country. They're not. Are they worse losses than Notre Dame's losses to us and A&M? Absolutely. But we have better wins. So, and then you could also it's hard to say, the way that they handle it all, it just feels inconsistent. The way that they're saying that Oregon is where they are right now because they beat Penn State when Penn State was the number 3 team in the country. Sure, you can leave it like that, but then Miami should get the credit for beating a ranked FSU team and a ranked USF team. If we're going to play it like that, if the games are going to matter from when they were played, then they have to matter right now, and you have to be consistent with it all. The consistency feels like it's lacking, and it feels like it doesn't make sense on a standpoint. I understand, and I've been saying that if Miami doesn't get in, I could see why, because of the 2 unranked losses, but they didn't lose in awful fashion. They lost to Louisville because Carson Beck threw 4 picks, right? You can't come back from throwing 4 picks in a game that they almost won. And then SMU losing in overtime because you committed a billion penalties, 12 penalties, a billion procedural penalties, playing, conservative bad football throughout the entire game on the road in Dallas. It's not like it's the worst loss ever. And I don't understand why the committee is acting like it is. That to me, that doesn't make any sense to me. So look, everyone's got their own opinion. I understand it. I just wish there was some sort of consistency or some way that we all could look at it and be like, well, based on these specific things, one team should be over the other, or at least this team should be in. Miami and Notre Dame should, in theory, both be in. That's how I see it. Again, I think if Miami wins out, they should get in. I feel like the way that it will happen, I think Miami will find a way to get into that tier, but they have to win it in dominant fashion now. It's not about surviving, it's total dominance. Virginia Tech is not a great team. I know that them hiring James Franklin right now could bring in a little boost morale around the program. I have no idea what that win could do, or what the hiring could do. They're a rival at the end of the day. It's, Notre Dame lost to A&M and us, obviously. That's why I think the head-to-head should matter. The game on the field should matter. And it was their first 2 games of the season. They scheduled their first 2 games, their 2 toughest games of the year, right away. And they've been rolling ever since, but their best win since then is USC, a good team. USC is a very good team. But that's their best win, and that's really their only win, because they've had Navy. Pitt is fine. Pitt's a respectable team. Navy is a respectable G5. I guess Boise, like they haven't played the teams that like I want to see Notre. Like they've played well against good teams. Jeremiah Love looks really good. Their defense looks really good. CJ Carr looks really good. But Miami beat them. So that to me is like the thing that I always look at. So it's like why shouldn't we be up against them? Yes, 100% agree, Jimmy. I 100% agree. Like when you lose the games that you're supposed to win, it hurts. It's definitely, look, after SMU, I said the season was over because it felt like it was too insurmountable to climb out of it. But I guess, I don't know, to me, things have changed where I still believe that this team is deserving of it enough where, because right now everyone's got, among the 2 lost teams, Miami has a good enough resume to be in that kind of echelon where they should be compared to Notre Dame, but the committee doesn't see that. So it's like, where's the logic in that? The tiering and all of that. And, it's unfortunate, but Miami shouldn't have we shouldn't be in this conversation, period. Let's be real here. All you have to do is beat one of Louisville or SMU and you get in because you're a ridiculously talented team with stars everywhere on the field. The fact that you have true freshmen that are making immediate impacts. You had an entire formation on the field, personnel lineup of Gerard Pringle at running back. You had Malachi Tony at receiver, Joshua Moore at receiver. You had, and Dalen Upshaw too. It was 4 true freshmen, all from that class, playing on the field at the same time in a must dominate win against a solid NC State team, and they played great football. And like that's, to me, it's like they're so talented on every side of the field. The committee kept saying, "Hey, can you show me consistency? Can you show me really good wins? And can you get us to that spot?" And they did. They're sort of doing that. What Hunter Yurachek said this weekend on Tuesday, he said Miami needs to continue to win the football games they have in front of them, and good things will happen. If you want to look at it like that, to me, that means go 1-0 every single week, and you should get in. In theory. Yes, do you need things to happen? Probably. But in theory, if you win out, you should get in. If you don't, you won, you did it to yourself. And on the other hand, it's like you also have reason to be pretty upset. So there's both sides to it. There's absolutely both sides to it. It depends on the way that you want to kind of look at it. But I get it. I see it on both sides. I see the side of saying they don't deserve to be in because you lose to Louisville and SMU in games that you were favored by double-digit points in both games. And then on the other hand, being like, well, they should be in because they have the quality wins. I get it. I want to know. The committee, we have to trust in a group of 15 guys that are basically deciding based on the games that I don't even know if, we have no idea if they really watch any of them. Again, Hunter Yurachek, I would love to, I believe he is watching the games. I'm sure he is, but he is also navigating a head coaching recruiting cycle. So the guy his full focus isn't on there. And then you also have teams within the committee that are also vying for a playoff spot. So it's like, and they can talk about them and their biases being removed and all that. That remains to be seen. I have no idea how true that is. It just hurts, and I think I'm gonna keep saying it. I just believe something in my heart tells me that if Miami wins out, they just have to do it. They might get in. But honestly, my bigger question is, can they win out? Because we've seen it now, last year as well. When it comes to these kind of moments, do they falter? They falter sometimes. They don't. They kind of struggle a little bit. They mess up. When the opportunity opens, they sometimes just totally mess it up. Last year was that prime example. You have 3 games left on the season. You need to win 2 of them, and it's Georgia Tech, Wake Forest, Syracuse, and you win 1 of them. That hurts. That is, to me, it's like, and then you're like the second team out, I believe, in the playoffs. This year might be the same thing, except they had the losses earlier this year, and then they would be the first team out. So it's kind of similar. There are a lot of parallels to it. I would not guarantee either one of these games right away. Virginia Tech is still Virginia Tech. It was a dogfight last year. They still have Kyron Jones this year. I know they lost a couple of their guys to the draft. They're also 3-7 with an interim head coach. I would not in theory, if Miami wants to prove that they're a playoff team, they should dominate this team. They absolutely should dominate them. It being on the, but they need to. I won't call any game easy for the rest of the way, especially when you're a Miami fan. You see this team losing to teams that they absolutely should be beating. I believe that Cristobal will get these guys ready to go. I know Virginia Tech wants some revenge. I know that they're going to treat this game like it's their best game. Miami's got to come out firing. The way that they came out against NC State is the way that they need to come out this week. They came out firing on all sides. Defensively looked amazing. Bryce Fitzgerald in the nickel, we're replacing Keontae Scott pretty seamlessly. And then on the, in the safeties with in the DB room, Jacoby Thomas being so electric, his total coming out party. 2 picks, should have been almost 3, playing dominant football. That defense is so strong right now. They're playing like a top 5 unit currently, a top 10 unit at the very least. The offense is there, the defense is there, the talent is there. If they don't make the playoffs, it does feel like you are, mismanaging the talent, as Jimmy said. Like, it does feel like a mismanagement of the pure riches that you have as a team. I mean, you had Cam Ward last year and you didn't make the playoffs. It's like, ugh. I love that. I believe it, Jimmy. If this Miami team is what we think they are, a team that is belonging and deserving of the playoffs, they win this game in the same fashion they beat Stanford. Well, score wise, the same score they beat Stanford, the same score they beat Syracuse, the same score they beat NC State. Win the games you're supposed to win and win them by a bunch. Pitt, to me, is going to matter a little bit more because it's a common opponent with Notre Dame. Notre Dame won by like 3 scores. Miami's got to win by like 4 or 5 scores if they want more respect. You got to prove to the committee each and every single week that you're not winning teams, you're blowing them out, and you're blowing them out of the water. They have to prove that to themselves. Thank you, Falconer, for the 199. As always, thank you for showing up. I'll post the streamer link one more time. Please keep commenting. I want to hear you guys got to say whatever it may be. There's a lot going on right now. We're hitting the really, the last 2 weeks of the season. We're getting to the nitty-gritty of it all. For us, if you want to look at it from, rooting reasons. Yeah, I agree. Brockshot, he played a couple, I believe he played a couple snaps, or at least he played in one of the garbage time games. He looked pretty solid. I wish they used the tight ends a little bit more. I really was expecting a lot more from Lofton this year. We've not really seen it. The connection between him and Beck hasn't been 100% there. That his talent is there. He is so talented, like, overall, and at least when he came in from Bishop Gorman. I wish that we used tight end some more. That would have been a really big help. If we had a legitimate safety blanket tight end for Beck right there, the offense would have been all that much better. I think the offense is right now playing. They're showing out to the way that I thought they would be showing out. And when Daniels is coming back now, Keelan Marion in the slot has been tremendous. He's been absolutely tremendous. Just consistently, he's been the consistent guy for Miami right now. Against NC State, I believe he had one of the most quiet 7 catches for 96 yards. Just everything that they have is just so good. Got to watch NC State players. That's great. So I'm glad Falconer. I'm hoping that the alumni, these guys, they're watching these current Miami guys, and they're at least they're showing their support and they're continuously backing Mario and them. The stuff like that to me is if they're showing their support and they're showing out for this team, it shows how much trust the people inside the organization, whether the Michael Irvins and the people inside the program, how much the faith and belief that they have within Cristobal. I understand what you want to say of him as a game manager. Whatever you want to say, I'm in agreement with you. But as a recruiter and as a guy from Miami, bringing in the talent that he's brought in and the way that he's able to, kind of bring these Miami guys together, it's got to feel good. The fact that for the last 20 years, this program has been basically shuttered, has gone nowhere. The standard, he set a standard. He set a new standard for this Miami team. And I think we should be praising him, at least in that regard, that the program has been revived in sorts, where you consistent the window to make the playoffs, and not only make the playoffs, compete consistently in the playoffs, is open on a yearly basis now because of the talent that he continues to bring in. Cristobal is dominating the recruiting class right now, between the flips right now. He's looking so solid, and I think they're just doing on the recruiting trail. Mario's just doing what he needs to do, and he's so good at it. So I understand there are people in the fan base that potentially want him gone if they don't make the playoffs. Unfortunately, I don't see it, one, because of how well he's done with recruiting, how much they back him. It doesn't, and if you were to fire him, who's a replacement that's going to take this team over, over anything? I don't see that. I think we should be really grateful for where we are right now as a program. And as the era moves forward, we absolutely should be expecting more, but we should also be able to kind of look back at it for a second and say it's pretty good to have that kind of positivity where this fan base could be going in trajectory wise every single year. I just want the U above Notre Dame. Yeah, look, I totally get it. I'm gonna. It might be a little. I don't know if this is a hot take or not. That I believe Notre Dame's a really good team. I think they're a playoff contender for sure. I do think but it's the way that the college football playoffs are set up. It's not. I don't think it should be the best 12 teams. It should be the 12 most deserving teams. And in terms of who's more deserving than the other one, if you have two-loss teams and you've played each other on the field, I would probably lean the team that has won the football game over the other one. Again, I think Notre Dame's really good. In a perfect world, both teams are in. I just don't know if that's even possible. If it is possible, I would like both teams to be in. But when the situation comes to when Miami and Notre Dame are the two teams fighting for one spot, the nod has to be given to the team that won the football game on the field, or else the games on the field do not matter. I think that's a pretty fair and reasonable take to have. And for any of the Notre Dame fans, I understand that your team is much better. You're playing great football right now. I believe it. You are playing great football right now. You probably should be a playoff team. Again, if we're down to two teams and you play it on the field, I don't care if it was week 1. The game still happened. The game happened this season. It has to matter. It has to matter, or else I don't even know if we should be playing Notre Dame next year. It wouldn't make sense. So, I mean, it sets a precedent. It's unfortunately, there are parallels to it than you want with Miami or with FSU last 2 years ago in the 14 playoff. There are parallels to it. The ACC the ACC, I guess, discrimination you could call it is it's kind of blatant. It's kind of there. You got to move past it. You got to move forward. Thank you, Falconer, for the 305. Look, I've said that about Notre Dame countless times. I'm from New York. I don't know if anyone is from New York, but these people are majority Notre Dame fans because they're any Irish Catholics. Their first pick is Notre Dame over anyone else, and a lot of them love Notre Dame. So I grew up around them. I can't stand the way that they act sometimes, and I will always say having that win over them week 1. If Miami doesn't make the playoffs, I will say having that win over Notre Dame this year is a damn good feeling to have. Winning the state of Florida every year is a damn good feeling to have. I want more. I want this team I think this team has a higher limit than where they are right now. So I'm really hoping that we can get to that limit. If they have to get in. That's the thing. They just have to get in. The committee's making it seem like they just have to win out. So play dominant football, play your brand of football. Pitt's going to be a tough one, obviously, because I think Pitt's pretty solid. Pitt is still vying for an ACC championship spot. I wouldn't really be focusing on it right now for Miami. Well, okay, I'll say this. If Pitt does win this week, this Saturday against Georgia Tech, the hope should start creeping in just a little bit more. But the focus should 100% be at least getting the at-large spot and doing what you need to do. That Yeah, I'm sure a lot of these people here all, growing up around the 1980s Miami versus Notre Dame, learning about it myself, one of the best things to ever learn about. So being on the side of the convicts is pretty fun. It's pretty fun to be on right now. And I'm glad that they won. Hoping my plans to get to South Bend next year for Miami Notre Dame. They're good. Well, it's anytime both these teams are really damn good and they have this kind of hatred with each other that we're seeing online. It's a good feeling to have. It's good to have that kind of tradition still here. Yeah, Jimmy, look, I agree. I 100% agree with it on Mario. He wants if to in back-to-back years not be able to win your conference when you are clearly the more talented team sucks. 100% sucks. It 100% is it bothers the hell out of me. The fact that the team has made one conference championship appearance in their existence in the ACC. The fact that they can't win it when they're significantly more talented than Louisville and SMU, yeah, absolutely bothers me. The fact that they can make the playoffs is a positive. And again, I think the standard is starting to shift. Would not making the playoffs kind of be disappointing? Yeah, absolutely would be disappointing. Next year would become a year where I think Mario's got to prove to the rest of at least he's got to prove to his supporters and the fan base that he won't do it 3 times in a row of really messing up what could be a really awesome season. He has to prove that. He has to regain our trust that he can do that. But at the same time, like it's you're towing a line of if you were to believe that Mario should be fired, you're towing a line of who do you replace him with? And then you're willing to undergo another rebuild essentially because you're going to lose a lot of South Florida guys. But what Mario's been able to do is bring in all these, he's been able to really do a great job bringing in the South Florida guys, bringing in guys from the Midwest, bringing in guys from, from California and Oregon and Samoa and all these places. He's done a fantastic job of building incredible offensive defensive lines. The talent is always going to be there. And I don't know if there's any other coaches that are even available that could potentially bring in that same amount of talent to this team year in, year out. I can't see it. So unless you have a better option of a realistic hire, I can't really go through like a talk of him being fired because there's no contingency plan for it. Instead, it should be for Mario how he can get better as a coach and finally kind of get over himself. Miami, I mean, if you listen on our show, me and Shay on Mondays, the number one thing I said when we entered ACC play was Miami's biggest issue is 100% themselves, and they need to find a way to get out of their own heads. Essentially, they have to get out of their own way. And they didn't do that against Louisville. And they didn't do it against SMU. They reinforced that same old Miami belief. And yeah, I believe that Mario's got to prove it. He's got to prove it that he can kind of fix that. He can kind of move past his own kind of issues. So yeah, I'm not gonna say it's not a concern for me. It's always a concern for me. It feels like because sometimes you don't never know what kind of Miami team you're gonna get. Sometimes you're gonna get a team that's gonna commit 12 penalties a game. Another team you're going to get is going to, be up 41-0 in the first quarter. So I don't get it. Like if we saw the Miami team that played on Saturday against NC State, who has a very legitimate offense between CJ Bailey, Hollywood Smothers, and, the receivers, whoever, all the guys they have, to limit them to 150 total yards of offense is ridiculous. Their defense is nuts. This Miami defense, they're putting this team, they're doing an awesome job. And if Beck can look the way he did against NC State and the team itself can play the way they did against NC State, that's a team that I have 100% faith and trust in. They had 581 total yards of offense, like 214 rushing yards. They played just damn good football. They were explosive. They brought out some trickery. They looked creative and fun, and they did things that they needed to do to be successful. Look, this is where I think I'm at. I think that we are getting to that point where, like, exactly 2 10-win seasons in a row. If you were a Miami fan, call it 8 years ago, 9 years ago, 10 years ago, I guess pre 2017, back-to-back 10-win seasons, would that be is that not like, would that be historic essentially for Miami that had back-to-back 10? It feel like the team would be back. The team would be back to this consistent national relevancy of back-to-back 10-win seasons. Like you're building something fully up. I think we have to kind of take that step back and realize like this is not, there's progress. There's actual like growth and a future that could be much better. So I just think that they're doing. I think that they're able to do it. Thank you, Falconer, for 305. Next few games are always great. Yeah, absolutely. The penalties are huge. They had 8 penalties against NC State. Did not really matter, thankfully. I thought they did their best against penalties, I believe, with Syracuse and Stanford, where they really did a good job with that. So they have to move forward in terms of that. 100% agree. Yeah, like he did. I don't know. I wouldn't say that. I understand. Look, number 14 class last year, he's consistently building top 15 classes every single year, going up against the powerhouses every single year. He's in consistent recruiting fights with the Georgias of the world and the SEC teams of the world. He's consistently fighting with these programs in terms of recruiting. The team right now is one of the most talented teams in the country overall. We have the best true freshmen in the country. We have the best, in terms of guys on the field right now that Mario recruited here, between on the offensive side, Malley, Pringle, Fletch, the offensive line itself, and then on defense between Bain and all these guys, I don't know. I think he's, as a coach, like as a game manager, obviously he's average at best, at the very best. But as a recruiter and someone that brings in talent, legitimate talent, he is getting the right guys. He's absolutely getting the look. Yes, he is. But Georgia and Ohio State are in another stratosphere as everyone else. Miami's right there though. They're in that tier below, but they're still with elite level SEC teams. They're still with these quality teams. Firing him wouldn't, or thinking of wanting to move on from him, you have to do another rebuild. You have to reset everything that you've been building for the last couple of years. I don't know what it would gain from it. I don't, unless you have a legitimate head coach that in your head is going to improve on what Mario's been doing. I want to see it. I think Penn State's in that spot right now. I don't think Penn State is even in that spot right. Firing James Franklin at the time of his firing, did it make sense? I guess. But at the same time, James Franklin was consistently bringing in elite classes. He was getting 10, 11 win seasons on a daily basis. His issue was he just couldn't beat Ohio State, and he couldn't beat, the top teams in the country. But the new expectation for whoever Penn State's new head coach is that he now has to consistently win these 10-win seasons. He has to consistently get 11-win seasons. He has to match James Franklin and then exceed James Franklin, because that's the new standard there now. So I can't imagine it. If you were to call the Ole Miss of the ACC, do you call Miami then a stepping stone school? Because Ole Miss is in terms of the SEC, they're a stepping stone school. They're not a top team in the SEC on a consistent basis historically either. LSU, UF, Alabama, they're the premier programs. Ole Miss is technically a stepping stone in terms of that kind of aspect. I wouldn't call Miami a stepping stone. They're the number one, revenue team in the ACC. Them, Miami, and Clemson are the top 3. We're there. I don't think we're a stepping stone school at all. I think we're a nationally relevant team with 5 national championships. And again, George, I think I like the positivity, George. I think that's what it is, that having back-to-back 10-win seasons is huge. And I think, again, as fans, we have to take a step back and realize that it's being built. I think it's just being built right now. Yes, sure. But right now, if you have more, you have Cristobal as your head coach. You have a guy that has proven that he can get 10-win seasons now. If assuming this team win 10 wins, gets 10 wins, you would now have a coach that is back-to-back 10-win seasons. That's a program that is, if he continues to do that, we're talking about a program that is being as good as they were, that is entering an era where they're finally back to being in that national relevance. For 20 years, they've been out of national relevance, and now you have Cristobal. You're in that relevance. You're finally back in it. If you get rid of him, what does that do for you? I don't know what it does for us as a fan base or as a program. You would have to rebuild. You have to reset everything that you've just been building. Unless you know a legitimate guy, what is the need for firing him? I don't think we're in a spot where we're saying that Miami needs to take the step forward or else we're going to stay in this stagnant spot. I don't think we're in that spot yet. Next year, maybe, if we go 10 wins and do the exact same thing as we did this year or last year, we might be talking a little bit now. But this is back-to-back potentially 10-win seasons. That's a huge positive comparing to where Miami was, at the end of the Manny Diaz era, or during the Al Golden years. Like, it's a night and day difference between where Miami was and where they are right now. I think you got to take a step back and kind of look at it in terms of a fan base, because you can't expect to win a national championship every year. You can't expect to be Ohio State and Alabama, because they're just on a different level of who they are. We can try to be as close as possible to them, and we're slowly building our way through that. It just, you have to have some sort of patience. I understand the team is super talented and that it would be a little bit disappointing if they don't make the playoffs because of how talented they are. It feels like they have that kind of, I think that you just have to be a little bit more patient and trust that, or more or less like, think of the other side. The grass is not always greener on the other side. I can't imagine that grass being any greener on the other side right now. Because then the next coach that you're asking for, you're expecting, sure, I get it. But Mario's expectation now, I would say in 2023, when he, his year one, or whenever he first got here, 2022, 2023, when he first got here, was 10 wins the low bar? It was not at all. 10 wins was likely, a really positive season, so which was last year. This year is potentially another 10-win season. I would say starting, I don't know, later on, either this year or next year, the expectation should be making the playoffs. I think the standards are beginning to change, but for the time being, like, I see your point. 100% would agree with that right now at this very moment, that I would expect to be in the playoffs every year with the talent that you have right now. But last year I wouldn't say that, and 2 years ago I wouldn't say that. But this year the standards are starting to change, and that's telling you that the program is moving in a positive direction. How's it going, Lee?
I am doing great. How you doing, bro? You do a great job on your
Doing all
show.
right. Thank you. Appreciate it.
I, I know you say you're a Hurricane fan and you from New York. That is great. But you're young. When we used to win at Miami, winning was you playing for a national championship every other year, or you in the final four. This winning 10 wins and not going to the playoffs, not winning an ACC, because for these 20 years, Mario is the best coach we can had in 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
If Mark Rick, when they got sick and would have fired his son, if we would have got Mark Rick when he was younger, with this talent we got down here, he would have won a national championship. But we got an old Mark Rick. Mario is the best that we've had in 20 years. He's doing a great job, like you say, in recruiting. But look what it took for him to find it. We knew Pringle and Jordan Lyles were backs that run to the outside. I think Shannon told him, look, these people are calling for my head because I keep running this ball up the middle. I'm doing as I'm told. Let me go out on my sword. Let me recall the plays that I want to call. And if I want to run outside, we're gonna run these guys outside. And look what happened. We'll make Pringle is balling.
He is, yeah.
Anybody who behind this offensive line running to the outside is gonna have a field day. Once you start getting yards on the outside, then you can start by running on the inside. But not every play running on the inside. That's the
Yeah.
only thing about Mario that just beats me in my head that you can't be playing like Oklahoma and Nebraska in the 80s and you run the wishbone. You got to modernize this football and spread it out. These Miami boys got legs. They want to run. Spread the game open. You go to all these 7-on-7s. These boys are just flying down this field. We should have a 7-on-7 track meet at Miami every game. We should, these two teams we playing, we are 17 points better than both of these teams.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be a question on we gonna win. It should be saying, are we gonna cover the buckets? Other than that, it's easy. But Mario is set in his ways until he lost that last game to SMU or Louisville, whoever came last. Now he's saying, all right, I'm gonna take my hands off the offense, Shannon, and let you call play.
Yeah.
And I'm fine with that. But winning 10 games, not going to the playoffs, not going to the ACC, we can find somebody else with the money that's coming into the program right now. Okay, the same. Let me tell you this right here. The same way we've been going into the portal the last 2 years, getting the number one quarterback that's available. Why can't we go in the portal of coaches and say, Lane, you're the number one coach out there. What are it gonna take for you to come to Miami instead of going to Florida or LSU? We outbid it for the players. Why can't we outbid it for the coaches?
I mean, the money that's being spent on Lane Kiffin right now is ridiculous amounts of money. And the contract that we have Mario right now, it would cost us a lot of money first to fire him, pay him that contract, and then bring in a guy like Lane Kiffin. I don't think it does to me. If Lane Kiffin's the only guy you want to say, sure, but I don't think there's any other guy that you can say that would be able to take where Mario's at right now, 10-win season as the minimum, and then bring this team to more than that. I can't see a coach right now that's in that spot. I think it's a grass is always greener situation that I don't think Miami's better off with getting rid of him. I understand, he's stuck in his own ways. Him as a game manager, he's not a great coach, period. The talent is really what keeps him where he is right now. But he's the one that brings in the talent. So I can't imagine anyone else right now that you would bring in and say that this guy would be significantly better than where Cristobal's at right now. Apart from a Lane Kiffin, who's already set on going, either staying at Ole Miss, going to LSU, or going to Florida.
So you telling me, I know he's already re-signed at Indiana. That guy from Indiana couldn't come down here and win.
I'm talking realistic guys, Lee. Talking realistic head coaching guys right now. I can't see any of them. I don't see any realistic head coaching hires right now that Miami could bring in to replace Cristobal. Hold on. Let's see what's going on here. Lee? I think we lost Lee. All right. Well, while he waits to come back, I mean, I can't. There you go. Hold on. Good, Lee? There you go.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
I can't. Do you know any realistic guys that would replace that could come to Miami right now? Because a guy like Cignetti and a guy like Lane Kiffin is not a guy.
I gotta do some research. But for what Mario has been doing for the past 2 years, with two good quarterbacks, the number one draft choice, and then you got a third round, top 3 round quarterback this year. There's no way there's nothing you can tell me why you can't make the playoffs You don't have no key injury. You don't have no key injuries until you just got them late with the Nickelback Scott. But other than that, we've been injury free. You've got everything at your disposal. Lawson really at 6'1", he's an H back, fullback. He's not really a tight end to me. He played tight end in high school, but at 6'1", this kid who we just signed a couple of days ago, that's 6'5", running over them little private school boys,
Yeah.
when he come to Miami, he is gonna be a baller.
Yeah. But those are a lot of these guys from, first of all, they're from Miami, and Mario, as a Miami guy, he's able to connect and build all these guys in Miami. He's recruiting his own backyard, and he's doing a damn good job in his own backyard. He's done a very solid job. And first of all, this team can make the playoffs. They're not totally out of it. I see where you're saying that this team should make the playoffs. They're ridiculously talented. But at the same time, I think they are a playoff team in general, but they have to get out of their own way. And I think that still takes some time. I think, but this year, and also still, in the future years, I still trust that Chris Paul can, take us to the playoffs and bring us back to the former glory that we were 20 years ago. But from where they were, between the Mark Richt, the Al Golden era, the Manny Diaz eras, this is the best that Miami's looked since the early 2000s.
And I agree. I agree with you 100%. But if these South Florida kids love Mario, like you say, we wouldn't have lost the big boy that went to Ohio State and split in. We wouldn't have lost Calvin that's going to Syracuse. We wouldn't have lost Derek, who is going to Texas. These are the five. I want him to get these 5-star boys that's in the backyard. Wait a minute. That's been going to Alabama and Ohio State. And they won't come because they're saying, why come when we know you can't win the big game?
I get it. But I understand that. Obviously, I wanted Jeremiah Smith, Calvin Russell. I wanted these guys. It's not like the guys that they currently have right now as South Florida guys aren't balling. Mark Fletcher's looked great. Malachi Tony's been awesome. They got, all the Chaminade and the American Heritage guys, the Columbus guys, they've all looked really solid. And these are guys that Miami recruited and has done a good job recruiting. Obviously, I want Miami to get the 5-star guys that are from Miami. I want him to keep these guys in his own backyard. I think stuff like that takes more time. And for a guy like Jeremiah Smith, he chose a team that had he chose wide receiver U over Miami. Miami's still building their way up to being in that upper echelon. And when they do, I think that's when you'll start seeing those 5 stars consistently getting, coming to Miami.
So you telling me we used to be wide receiver U, running back U, linebacker U,
but things have changed.
Right. And things have changed. But we've gave Mario 4 years. He's got riches down here in Miami. And we're going to have to go, if he don't make the playoffs this year, we got to go into year 5, hoping that he can make the playoffs. Why are these teams like Georgia Tech in contention with their coach? I think he's been there 3 years, hasn't it? Or 2?
I don't know. He's a great coach, and he's doing a good job with the guys that he has around him. I think he's doing a great job. And again, I think Mario doesn't do enough with the talent that he has. I agree.
Exactly.
But he's the one bringing in that talent, and I don't see a guy that can bring in that currently. There's not a guy that can bring in that same amount of talent, recruit in Miami, know how to recruit in Miami, and do what he's been able to do.
No one thought Dan Landon. No one knew Dan Landon until Mario left, and he's bringing in the same talent that Mario is bringing in at Oregon, if not better. So there's another guy out there. We might not heard of him yet, but there's another coach that can do the same thing that Mario is doing now.
I'm sure there is, but I don't know if the grass is always greener. I just don't know. If you were to fire him, you would have to undergo another rebuild. You would just have to undergo another rebuild and have to kind of basically restart from the ground up. I don't think we are in a spot where we have to do that. To me, it doesn't make sense.
Did Alabama have to do a rebuild? A,
That's
a, a
different.
4 year rebuild.
Nick Saban retired. Nick Saban retired. He didn't get fired.
Okay, but he retired. But you still had to bring in a brand new coach. His brand new system.
But Saban was the one that wanted DeBoer. He was the one that said get DeBoer. He's still he's still around the Alabama facility on a consistent basis. That's a way different story. And also Bama lost some guys too when Saban left. They're Alabama though. That's an entirely different story.
So you saying they're Alabama? Nick, don't be fooled. Nick Saban retired because of lack of money at Alabama. Miami's got way more money than Alabama. All we got to do is win a national championship, but we can't get to the playoff. That's my only gripe. I know what you're saying. Who is going to do better? But keeping Mario there year 5, and he don't. If he makes the playoffs next year and get bounced in the first round, that ain't good enough.
But if you get 10 or 11 wins in consecutive and more seasons, that's going to continue to get more guys to come here and more quality guys. I think it's honestly just it takes more time. You had 10 wins last year, you're expected 10 wins this year, and then they're probably going to continue to get 10 wins. That's good to me is going to start bringing in the recruits that you are talking about. I think it's just going to take more time.
Okay, so next year, the 2 quarterbacks he's talking about bringing in, Sellers at South Carolina,
Mm-hmm.
and the other little guy at Arizona State.
What, Sam
Okay,
Levitt?
yeah. So those are the 2 top names that are looking to come to Miami right now. I'm not keen on Leverett. Sellers is just okay. He might be better up under Shannon. I don't know. But let's say we get them next year and we make it to the playoffs, then we lose them the second round. That'd be year 5. I don't mind you getting a quarterback every year out the portal,
I don't know.
but what year do you think Mario is going to win a championship? Just you guessing.
A championship? I mean, I can't tell you championship. I championship contender, I can say next year. But championship, I mean, there's a lot that still has to go your way to make a championship. When the last few champions have been a mix between Bama, Georgia, and Ohio State. But in terms of contender, as early as next year.
So how long would you give a coach to win a championship?
It's college football. It to me is different. Where to win a championship, like if Mario Cristobal went 10 years without a championship, but he had 10 win seasons or 11 win seasons in playoff years every single year, I don't know if I'd fire him. I don't know if I'd fire him.
So team wins a year for you, and that'll be fine.
I don't think no. I think he has to continuously show improvement that he can get to the spot of winning it all. But there's guys all across the country that have not won anything. Like they never won anything. I would say I don't
Like
know.
James Franklin. Like James Franklin.
Sure. Like James Franklin.
He did exactly what you were talking about. He won 10 games every year. He had a top 10 class every year. He graduated players. He went to the playoffs. He went deep into the playoffs. Everything you said, and them people at Penn State said, you think that's good enough for us? Get somewhere.
I agree. I do agree with that. But who's to say that Penn State is going to be better off without him?
I know, but what you keep failing to realize, you got to keep making changes till you get a championship. I'm not gonna sit. I'm not gonna sit here and say I'm just gonna stick with a man 10 years, 5, 10, 15 years. He don't never win a championship, but as long as he wins 10 games, it's too much money involved in the game now. These boosters want to win. They want to win now. As Brian, as LSU coach, he's gone. All these coaches that are getting fired because we need to win. You need to show us you can get to the playoffs and be a contender. James Franklin was a contender in the playoff, and to his boosters, that is not good enough.
That's the way that Penn State saw it, and to me, I still don't know on the Penn State side that it's going to be better off for them because they have to now nail the hiring, and that coach's expectations now have to be, I have to win more than 10 games. I have to now would be a national championship contender on a consistent basis. That's not an easy thing to ask a coach for. That's why, to me, I can't ask Mario that he needs to win a chip in the next 3 years. I can't, because to win a chip there's so many things that has to go his way. It takes so much for it to happen. When you're looking at the guys that have won a chip right now, the most recent, it's Ryan Day, it's Kirby Smart, and then who else that is a current head coach right now has a national championship under his belt? I don't think there's any coach right now. There's no current coach besides Kirby Smart and Ryan Day. There's none. Marcus Freeman hasn't. Brian Kelly didn't. Lane Kiffin didn't. So it's to win a national championship is one of the hardest things to do. I think the standards in college football are different than any other sport, where to get a national championship is just so hard. It's ridiculously hard to do that. I think the expectation should be to be a contender for it.
Okay, so what about if you make the playoffs every year?
Yeah, well, that's the other one.
I'm fine with it. If you can make the playoffs every year.
I agree.
But this is year 4. If he don't make the playoff this year, I don't want to hear the Miami fans, me included, whine and say, "Oh, the committee did y'all wrong. Y'all beat Notre Dame head to head. You shouldn't have never lost these 2 games to Louisville and SMU." Don't, just like Jimmy Johnson said when we went to Notre Dame, you don't leave it in the hands of the refs. We don't leave it in the hands of the committee. You go out there and win the game you're supposed to win, then there's no one who can deny you.
I agree. Absolutely. That one I'll be 100% in agreement on, that if they don't win it, or if they don't make the playoffs, it is on the team themselves, because you were double-digit favorites and you did not win the games you're supposed to win. I 100% get that if they don't make the playoffs. For the future for Miami, I do believe that the expectation should be making the playoffs. But I think we're in this spot right now for Mario that the expectation, at least last year, was things changed over the course of a season. The expectation for the beginning of the season was, win 10 games, or at least the ACC. I think the ACC is a stepping stone. Once you get the ACC, and then you move forward into the playoffs and doing well in the playoffs, and then moving forward from then on. I think that's just the way that it works.
I don't disagree with that. I thought the stepping stone would have been last year. We win the ACC last year. We win the ACC this year. But we just keep doing the things that up on the crystal ball that we are used to him doing. We are used to him now losing a game every year, losing 2 games every year. We're used to him mismanaging a game. We're used to questioning his clock management. We're used this. It's just stuff that we are used to now, and that's setting up a sad precedent. If Mario wins 10 games a year, he keeps getting the top 10 class, and he ain't making it at least to the championship game.
Sure. I can agree with that. I think that his standards have changed, and I agree that it shouldn't be a standard that we have to say, when is Mario's next, when is he going to pull a Mario? When is he going to get in his own way? And
exactly.
I've been saying, I have 100% been saying that he, as a coach, it scares me as a coach, because he does that all the time, and he puts himself in that spot where I can never call him, a quality coach, because he does stuff like that. I've been in agreement on that all the time, but I need to, in terms of the stuff that he builds around talent-wise, what he's able to bring, at some point it's got to, if it doesn't work, like if they are, they fall off and they do lose less than 10 games, if they win less than 10 games and they're not hitting his standards, then yeah, I would, be in that spot of firing Cristobal. But I need to let it play out. I need to continue to see more years under Cristobal.
I agree with that. I'll let you, since you're a new Hurricane fan, we'll give you some gracious time and let you see how far this gonna go. But the old Hurricanes like me, we're ready to get back to dominance.
Look,
we love Mario, but he started off slow. Now we getting to 10 wins. Now we expect ACC championship, playoffs, and deep runs to the title.
Yes.
We don't make it in, it's his fault again, and then that kind of makes us upset.
I agree. I'm in 100% agreement on that. 100%. I think the standards are changing. ACC's got to be the ACC championship has to be the minimum expectation from now on, and it's got to, as the way the program is being built by him, the standards have changed, and that's where he's got to move forward to now. I agree with that.
Thank you for taking my call. I
Of
won't
course,
talk
Lee.
all night because I could talk all night about Miami. And again, you're doing a great job, and we're gonna continue to let you roll with us. But we gotta get in this playoffs, Mario. We
Yeah,
got to do
I
it.
get it.
Thank
100%
you so
agree, Lee.
much.
Thank you, Lee. Have a good one.
You too, bro.
Thank you, Lee. As always, it was a good talk because it's definitely the two sides of the fan base. Look, I'm a young Hurricane fan. I've not been around the program as long as you guys have, so it's different from the way that I see it. Patience to me is important. I think you have to be patient in terms of building a program. And I think it takes time. I do think it just takes time in general. So, but for the fans that have been around and have seen national championships and have seen this team at the glory at the highest point, I understand the way that you guys see it in that kind of different way. The expectation should always be to win it all. But for people like me who have never seen this team in the playoffs or have never seen this team in the championship game, you have to. I see it from a different lens that you see it. I think that's just the way that it is. So the way that you guys see it and the way that I see it, 100% agree. I think for Mario, I believe in the belief that you just have to have some patience because to have back-to-back 10-win seasons is such a positive. So thank you, Falconer, for 305. Thank you guys for consistently talking in the chat. It's been really great talking right now. Always love doing these. Yeah, I think I don't know. I guess I don't know. I think the standards have 100% changed, and it would be disappointing to not make the playoffs considering the start that you had, the fact that you should have been in the ACC chip and you've squandered it on your own. It's yeah, 100% agree. I think the standards should be at least next year. ACC chip has to be a minimum belief. I thought this year was as well. So look, I think we have to have patience considering where we were under Mark Richt, under Al Golden, under Manny Diaz. Have some patience in this team. I have patience as a Jets fan, unfortunately. So maybe that's where I'm trained to have some patience. You guys have seen it all, and I guess this is the way that it is. So, but thank you guys for chatting. I gotta run. Thank you guys though. No call-in show next week. Obviously Thanksgiving. Have a great Thanksgiving. I'll be back. Me and Shay will be on this Monday for the Miami Primetime Live, and hopefully see you guys then, and also the Thursday after for everything. But thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.